Hello, my name is Danielle Holdren, and I'm a fourth year pharmacy student here at VCU School of Pharmacy, currently completing my APPE elective in digital health. And so here today to talk about one of my projects, which was to create a pharmacokinetic calculation dashboard. And so just to give a little bit of background on pharmacokinetics, this is really the branch of pharmacology that looks at the body's response to a drug. And so with that, we will look at different phases of how the drug is interacting in the body. So we'll have absorption here, how the drug is actually getting in, distribution or how it's spreading throughout the body. We'll have metabolism, or how it's getting broken down, and elimination from the body. And so there are several different pharmacokinetic parameters that are going to be associated with each of these different phases. And so we'll have some drug concentrations that we'll be looking at. We will have our volume of distribution, half-life, elimination rate, and clearance. So these are just a few of the parameters that I chose to basically look at with my calculator. However, there are so many different parameters that I actually didn't touch upon. So this is really just a baseline of what we can do with these pharmacokinetic calculations. My calculator incorporates about 20 or so calculations, but there are so many more that can be done. And so with that being said, I will go ahead and walk through my created workflow. So using KNIME, similarly to my other project, which was the vancomycin AUC-based dosing calculator, I was able to basically include several nodes that have this calculation function in it. And so I split up this calculator based on our administration route. So our IV route versus our oral route, because the PK will vary depending on that. So I have one component here that incorporates 3 routes of calculation. So I'll start here at the top with my IV route. And so each of these blue nodes here are what's going to allow us to input our patient data. And then following here, we'll have different PK calculations that I'm going to touch upon. So as I talked about those different concentrations we can hit, such as our peak and our trough. I also have got here the elimination rate constant, our half-life, volume of distribution, clearance, initial concentration, and an AUC estimate here. And so those are just a few of the different IV-based pharmacokinetic calculations that can be ran by this calculator. And then we will come down here to where I just decided to calculate a few baseline inputs for our patients. So these aren't necessarily considered pharmacokinetic calculations. However, these are all things that would go into dosing for our patients. And so thought it could be important to incorporate just for visualization and completeness. So that here we have, again, some inputs for our patients, and then we will have a creatinine clearance calculation, and then some body weight calculations here as well. Coming down here, we are looking at our oral route of admin. So again, having our inputs here, and then going on to calculate basically our concentrations, our clearance, loading dose, maintenance dose, and our AUC concentration here. All of that then comes out over here to give us a nice little output view of all that information that we have gathered and then calculated. And so we can see here then what the finished dashboard looks like. So again, IV dosing here at the top. So those patient baseline inputs with the body weight calculations that I mentioned here, creatinine clearance. So you can change some things here to get some different values for each specific patient. We can come down here again as part of the IV dosing route, choosing your initial selected dose, and then messing with each of those different aspects of our dosing scheme can help calculate those different PK parameters of interest here. And then coming down to our oral dosing, we've got those different parameters that are going to be important in those calculations here. So we can switch up some of those inputs to have some calculations for our patients, and those will be output down here. And when this is all said and done, there is a way that we can report the data that we have for our patient, and that would come out here as such. So each of those values that we've calculated would come out in this report right here. And as part of the report, these are each of the formulas that I've included into the calculator. So this little aspect here would allow the clinician or the pharmacist to go back and double check anything by hand if they needed to. And so that was just a brief walkthrough of my pharmacokinetic calculation dashboard. A few things in progress. I was potentially thinking about incorporating a method for data collection. So if somebody wanted to use this for research purposes and needed to collect data from multiple patients, they could have a way to just compile that together. Cleaning up details, so just making it more visually appealing, incorporating more interactivity as I continue to work with this calculator. And then with the calculations review, hoping to have a School of Pharmacy faculty member just review the calculations that I've used in the calculator and just basically double check the work that I've done. And so that was just a brief intro to my pharmacokinetic calculation dashboard. Of course, if you have any comments, concerns, please don't hesitate to reach out at this email address below. And thank you for your time.